Dressed as well, Papa.
makeup on. Well, no, I'm fine with you now. Right, here we go. See how flat you can sit. Oh, okay, mate. How you doing? Good weekend? How you doing? Thanks for that, buddy. Good lunch, mate. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, I'm ready. What?
Very nice, Letland. Very nice.
Okay, so g'day guys. Welcome to a brand new week of trading. Interesting day today. We're supposed to have May Day number 3, 4, 5, I don't know, whatever it is, where Theresa May is supposed to be coming back to Parliament with Plan B. I don't see that posted anywhere in terms of a news event, certainly not on Forex Factory. I'm sure Ash will update us with that when he joins us in a tick. I do have an order though that I've placed pretty much with that in mind, that the Theresa May thing is on, and it's Aussie yen and it's short. I'm trading it on a 4-hour chart, and I'm trading this candle here, which is pretty much a double cross, if you like, of the weekly pivot, but it's certainly a break below the daily pivot and a weekly pivot rather, and a retest of that. At the same time, the daily pivot has been tested as well. So I'm thinking perhaps we're going to go risk off for a short period of time, whilst ever this cloud hangs over us. And for that reason, we should be getting a weaker Aussie and a stronger yen. So therefore, I'm happy to go short on this. I may be a bit early on it. I see a reversal bar sitting here. Maybe there's a little bit more retracement left in this before we do go short, but I don't want to miss this. So if If it goes early, fantastic. If not, we'll look to catch it at a better spot. So it's Aussie yen short. The entry level is 78.33. Got a stop loss of 38 pips just above the daily pivot. And I'm going to take profit at 15 pips, which is right here at the DS1 level. And I'm going to take 55% off the table at that point. The rest I'll just let run. So I'll get rid of this target, actually. I don't need a target on this. And although that still says I've got a target, I don't want one. No, I've got a TP2 there. Let's get rid of TP2 as well. Disable that. Okay, now that's better. So we're going to take profit at 15 pips, just in case this does continue into this consolidation that we've been witnessing. We'll make ourselves safe pretty quickly, as is my want during this volatile period. And then we'll go and let this run as far as it's prepared to run. Now, it is a pretty crazy sort of a day. And as I said, Ash will update us with this Theresa May thing directly. But it's also a US bank holiday, and it's Monday. So it's not the greatest trading atmosphere that you would ever see. But I am prepared to risk a small percentage on that Aussie yen trade short. What else is happening? Let's have a look at the Forex Factory and see if we can find something meaningful and determine what in fact is going on. I don't see anything here that relates to the supposed Theresa May Plan B thing. As I said, I'll update us on that very shortly.
I am in, yeah. I'm here with you.
But yes, we definitely do have a US bank holiday, which will make things a little bit quiet probably later in the proceedings. Mate, I don't see Plan B or May Day 3 or 4 or whatever it is on this calendar. What can you tell us?
Well, Plan B was, and I guess it was always going to be this. Plan B was to meet with other MPs and then come up with Plan B. There wasn't ever going to be something that was going to be set in stone that she would have laid down on the table. I guess, if anything, the Plan B is how can I convince people to get my deal through with a few minor tweaks. They've still got this impasse going on because she's got to convince the MPs that whichever deal they all come up with is the right deal, and then they've got to go and convince the European Union. And as I said before, the only real possibility I see is Norway deal with a few tweaks. I don't really see anything other than that that could possibly go through. But the problem with that is that that's the single market, and Theresa May is being apparently pretty unmovable on her red lines. And that's going to be the whole issue with this, is that Theresa May could get a Brexit deal through because she's approached MPs. She's seen the Green Party leader, she's seen the Lib Dems leader, she's seen the SNP leader, which may not mean a lot to people, but these are all minority parties. Jeremy Corbyn straight away refused to meet her until she said that no deal was off the table. Now, she can't do that. I think we mentioned this before. It's an impossibility for her to take no deal off the table, because even if Parliament agree on a deal, the European Union may not. So what else can they do but have the no deal possibility, not as an option, but as a possibility, because it might be the EU that decides that there's no deal. So I think Theresa May is in a bit of a difficult position now. And I can't really see anything hugely shifting. But we will see this week. Maybe she'll come back and say that there is some movement from her side, some movement from the Lib Dem side, and all the interviews that I saw over the weekend, nobody was willing to move. Nobody was willing to budge. They're all willing to meet, except for Jeremy Corbyn, but they weren't willing to budge. And there does seem to be higher talk about that second referendum.
Right, but wasn't she supposed to come back today with whatever the result of her talks over the weekend? Clearly she wasn't out playing golf over the weekend, so
no,
I assume something was in mind as to come back this, and I thought it was today that she had to come back and say, well, here's Plan B, or we don't go. Or I don't know what the alternative was. I don't know.
Yeah. That's exactly what she was doing. But the kind of big headline is that she's set to reveal the plan to ditch the backstop to win the Brexit rebels. So she seems to be going more towards the Brexiteers rather than the Remainers. You know, she seems to be going harder. She seems to be, getting even more belligerent and digging her heels in rather than sort of like coming back and trying to appease the DUP, which are propping up government, and trying to appease the Remainers in her party, and also trying to appease the people across the House that, on the whole, would have voted for Remain. You know, so it's a pro-European Parliament anyway. So yes, we are meant to be getting the details, but people have been out already saying, like Vince Cable, the leader of the Lib Dems, he had an interview almost 5 minutes after he'd been in with Theresa May and said, "Nah, not really a lot going on. You know, the channels are open, but there's not really a lot going on. So there's not really a lot she can say that's going to surprise us." I think what we look like we're headed for is this second referendum seems to now be increasing in probability, because Parliament just don't seem to be willing to decide. And really, then it comes down to second referendum, no deal. That seems to now be the binary choice that seems to be emerging, because her deal seems to be so pushed so far back that she's just not going to win it. She probably will bring it again. She probably will bring it to Parliament one more time with enough tweaks to kind of at least appease one side, and it seems like she's going towards the Brexiteers. But the likelihood she won't win that, and then it's down to second referendum or single market. Now, of course, if there's a second referendum, she's got to agree to that. So that's going to make things kind of maybe unlikely to happen as well. So, you know, there's still many twists and turns in this one, but
All right,
we
so
don't
she's
have
not going to be pressed into a corner today. It's just
No.
business as inverted commas usual.
I would suspect so. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I will be watching. The fact that there is some kind of announcement, but I would suspect so. I don't think we're gonna learn too much anything new today, or actually for the rest of the week. I think we're probably going to start kind of getting things ramping up in the background. Second referendum talk ramping up in the background. No deal preparations ramping up in the background, and then there'll be some scheduled announcement that isn't yet down on paper.
Well, you've just ruined my day.
Why? What was your plan?
Well, I thought the market. Well, I said last Thursday that the market should be now going back into risk on.
Yep.
I thought today it might be coming back into risk off, and that's why I'm happy to trade Aussie yen short. And you're going to tell me that you got back into the FTSE trade off the monthly pivot, aren't you?
I did. Yes, I did.
Good boy.
Yes, I did. I took profit probably a little bit earlier than there was an offer, but it is coming back. I'll show you what I did with this. It was just it was screaming, and I'll show you why. And I think this qualifies as a potential slingshot as well. I'm not sure. So what we had. Let's see if that's sharing. That's the one. What we had was the push down. Yes, I got in here and I'd stopped at break even. But what happened was the pattern that emerged was that inverted head and shoulders. It was exactly as I was waiting for, and it came right down and it touched on this low here, touched down there. Gave us that right shoulder, and that right shoulder's at 31, and in actual fact it was, but the pivot was slightly higher than that, and I didn't really want to enter right on the shoulder. I did want to enter on the shoulder, but I wanted the situation to unfold a little bit because the pivot was slightly higher. So if we remember that's at 31, then we're going to bring in with the pivots here. And I show you this on a hourly chart. These were our pivots, and the pivots were at 62. Now, the really good thing about this, now, a few weeks ago, I said that I liked a specific pattern. It was this this Head and Shoulders pattern, actually, I think it was, because I liked it when a Head and Shoulders pattern is also formed off a break of a trend line. And it had a higher probability of working out. Maybe it wasn't that one. It was maybe one a little bit earlier, but it didn't end up working out. It ended up being a false signal, and it went against me. Maybe it was this bit, actually, I'm not sure, but anyway, what we had here was a similar situation where we had an inverted Head and Shoulders off a breakout, and that's the pattern really coming in here, probably. Yes, that's the pattern, and I can show you why I think of it as that pattern rather than that one. But we also had the same sort of thing. It came down, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So this is a really good signal. It's a breakout of an area. It is a monthly pivot, so it's obviously an obvious place to try and take a trade, and it's an inverted Head and Shoulders, and it's a reversal pattern. Couple that with the fact that you've got this really nice hammer here, really defined. You couldn't really get a more classic hammer than that.
No.
And one of the best places to enter a hammer is on the return. You don't always get that opportunity, but this is my favorite place to enter a hammer is when it comes back and tests the high of the hammer. Let it break out, let it show itself first, and as it comes back, try and take the trade, literally as it comes and touches. So it was a really, really good entry, and yes, it did float up. Now, I didn't get it right the way to the top. Because the trend line actually exists like this. So and it does actually go a little bit further up. If we had a daily chart, we'd see that. So I came out around about this area here. So I did actually miss out on quite a
trade, mate.
It was a great, yeah. It worked out really nicely. It was a good trade because it was one of those that was planned. We were discussing it on the show, weren't we? That it was probably come down, and I'd try and re-enter again on the right shoulder. I didn't have the guts to do that. But actually, this is much better practice. It's much better to wait for the actual signal rather than just entering on price.
Absolutely.
And the one reason I didn't enter on price, I would have entered on price, and I'm happy to enter on price if the overall picture's there, which the overall picture for me was that inverted Head and Shoulders. But my issue was the news hadn't really turned in my favour, so there wasn't really the possibility that I could have taken that. Hold on 1 second, mate. 1 second. I'm just getting called for a minor emergency. I'll be with you in 1 second.
No worries. I'll just take over for a tick whilst Ash is dealing with that little issue. That should be me there. Why can't I see a screen? That's interesting. Let's try that again. There, that's better. Okay, coupled with the FTSE, this was the one that I was looking at on Thursday, and was dollar yen. As we broke out of this range, which was a very, in my mind, distinct ascending triangle, which had broken when we started trading on Thursday, came back and retested the top of the range and through the daily pivot as well. It was tough to find an entry here, and by the time I'd gone to bed, I couldn't. But this was the trade I was looking for on Thursday, and similar to the FTSE, this is where we recognize that we're going in a risk on mentality, and the market certainly did that. I couldn't find a way in on Thursday, and I don't trade on Friday. So when I went to bed, this was not even happening up here. But there was a nice little breakout that came back and retested a broken trend line through here. Perfect. Absolutely gorgeous. So there was the entry bar there, early Friday morning. In fact, that is even before Australia opened. That is 1 hour into New Zealand. So not even the Aussies were awake. Well, they were awake. I was awake, but I certainly wasn't trading. But there was the entry, and that was the corker. So exactly the same thing, mate, on dollar yen, which was the one I was watching. Exactly the same scenario.
Sorry, mate, I'm back. It was very minor. It was very minor.
No, you're right. I was just talking about Dollar Yen, the one that I was trying to catch on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, you know, I was in bed about here somewhere, and then this happened, and there's your trade candle
Oh,
right there.
do you know what? You haven't got the screen. I'll just mention
Yeah.
one thing, just while we're on this chart here, and then we'll get to dollar yen, because this might be for today.
Yep.
So what we had in the end, which was interesting with the FTSE, is a breakout. So there was an actual daily breakout, and now we're definitely looking for the longs. And I'll tell you what's really cool about this is this pattern now takes us up to somewhere around here. That's what we're after now, somewhere around here. And what we've had is a breakout of, this is the one I want. Now this is the one that I was looking at on the hourly when I said that there was a trend line much higher. So this is a daily chart, and that's why I came out here on the hourly. So what we've got now is, it's really obvious to me. This comes down, touches this level, and then takes off to this point. Now that is going to be you know, maybe another 100 pips there. I mean, yes, we're going to want to see some decent signs and signals, but that looks pretty obvious to me. It looks pretty obvious that that this is going to be a classic break and back test. Now, I'm going to bring this back to the hourly chart with the pivots, because when this starts to show with the pivots, now this is a futures chart, and actually, I've recognised that the UK 100 isn't quite as good to look at as this, because with the futures, it's the genuine futures market, whereas the UK 100 isn't the genuine FTSE, because it goes into, you know, it's a kind of combination of the FTSE and the futures. So this is what we're looking at there. That's on a daily. Now we're going to bring this to an hourly, and look where it comes and sits. Right on that daily pivot. It's such an obvious point to try and trade. So if we were looking at this on UK 100, then we're looking at about 20 pips down. So 20 pips down the UK 100. That leads us to around about 69.50. That's what we're looking at, 69.50 for a trade to the upside. And if it doesn't stop there, I suspect it will stop at the weekly pivot. You know, it's going to be somewhere within this zone, and I would want it to touch that. I wouldn't want to get it early, but I'd want it to touch that and come down and touch that zone. And what's, you know, and this is the thing, it's got to be a matter of choice. Do people want to take this trade or not? Because they don't have to, because what we're really looking for is the short. But now it looks like we could get that short a little bit higher, which is really, as I say, it's quite cool, because before I was looking at maybe taking a short in this area. I thought if it came up here, take profit, wait for some signals of reversal, and then go short again. But now we've broken out. To my mind, we're still in this kind of bearish market. We've still got bearish sentiment out there. And incidentally, that's the reason I didn't take this trade, because the sentiment was still quite bearish before we got actually this day, which was Friday, when there was some fairly positive news out of China. So, but things haven't changed yet. Data's still slowing, so we're still in a bear market. So I'm looking now for a short, but not yet. I see a long if it comes back about 20 pips, and then I see a short. And the reason I see a short is because my next pattern that I'm looking to emerge is the inverted head and shoulders now on the weekly. Now, I'm not sure whether that's going to get high enough. That's the breakout point, and this one is the next level that I see it getting to. So I you know, not too high here, but this is the left shoulder. Now, you know, the market could stop anywhere along this left shoulder and effectively try and fail. It's got to take that level out and then come up and then come back before I'd be comfortable that we do have the long, maybe sort of like from a right shoulder off a weekly chart. But right now, I'm looking at this still to fail at this higher trend line, which is enough of a gap.
Are we trading today? We've got US bank holiday. We've got this perhaps Theresa May thing that's maybe not a Theresa May thing going on. It's Monday. What else can I come up with?
Yeah, do you know, mate? I
Are
think
you confident to trade or what?
I think you make a good point, because really Fridays have been extraordinarily good for the market recently to trade, and the reason that it's been good is because it's been, you know, really, really high volatility, and there's been some, you know, genuine movement in the market. But in actual fact, I don't think we're going to get any of that today. So if it comes down to this level, it's unlikely then to go forward and break out. So maybe not. I mean, it might not be the day. What we're looking for is around about this level, or maybe the weekly pivot, somewhere in this zone. But it might be that we just wait and trade tomorrow. You know, let the market kind of meander down, and then look to take the trade in a day or so. Because the only issue with trading today is that it's much more likely to get caught in a range than
I
breakout,
agree.
you know, because of that. So if we're not going to get our follow through today, it might not be quite as wise. And I still think we see this price maybe you know, later in the week or later in the picture. So probably not, but possibly is the answer to that.
Okay, he's all over it. He's clear as mud. Very good. I'm not that keen. I'm still waiting to allow the euro and the pound to sort themselves out. But yeah, look, I do see some opportunities, and I wish I was trading the pound at the moment, because I've got a couple of good signals here that are pretty much against what I thought the day might present with, and that was risk on. Risk off. But I see a nice signal on pound yen on a daily chart. I see on the euro a nice indicator as well. But I'm just not willing to trade them at the moment. I hope that will change throughout the week. But what you've told me today, in that we're not going to get a tumultuous decision of any kinds, that's kind of disappointing.
So with the euro, I was looking at the euro overnight, and it seems to me that it's got to a level of support. Would you be looking for the longs?
The euro, I'm waiting for a little decision to be made today. But what I do see is still a short-term short. It will depend on what happens today, though.
Yeah, you know what? I was looking at the long actually as the market opened, and I see that too. Yeah, I see the short, and maybe the short is around the weekly pivot. Is that what you seeing as well?
Yeah, we've got a. I'll just share my screen.
I've just shared your screen actually for you. Do you mind starting at the daily, because it was the daily that I saw, and I thought, wow, we're just that looks like a pretty good area for a trade long.
I'll just go a bit tighter. I haven't updated my chart, so I'll.
You see that trend line from the very, very low of that your screen there?
I'll just take that out there. There's a trend line coming up through here, probably. Maybe even through there.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at, actually. Yeah, that's the one I was looking at. I'm thinking, God, that's a really good place to go long there.
Yeah, it probably is. We're not there yet, though, and that's the thing. With the 4-hour chart, what I can see is this big bar here. I can see this bar coming off the monthly pivot. That would have been a nice trade, actually, on Friday. Had anybody spotted that one on the 4-hour chart? And I'm looking for here, maybe a weekly pivot, and then a rejection bar, and then a short down to here. Maybe that's the end of it. Maybe there's not much to it. But I do see that trade. I see a trade from here to here. Maybe there is some more after that. I don't know. There's still the bottom of the range to contend with. And that kind of leads me into that scenario. On the daily chart, I'm seeing something I like as well. A break of the pivots and the potential retest of the pivots. That gets me interested short. And I think there is probably a little bit more to this than maybe that trend line. I can see the bottom of the range here. I can see 113 again. The interesting point, of course, is that we're at my all-time favourite level of the last 5 years. I think 113.60, and that's somewhere that price tends to hover for quite some time. So I'm willing to trade this top to bottom of the range, but it's still this uncertainty surrounds it. And maybe the smaller time frame's the way to go, and I'm not 100% confident that's the thing. Well, we need to go a little wider than that. Yeah, I don't see anything great there in terms of a small time frame, except that probably will become a trend line. We've got a double top sitting here. We've got a bearish engulfing bar, a significant lower high here. Could be interesting, but the candle's pretty big in terms of context, and trading straight into the daily pivot. So you'd have to put your entry under here somewhere. Your risk is going to be about 19 pips. Your reward's going to be less than that. It's not the worst, but there may well be a better one up here somewhere. So I think that part of the equation that you mentioned, the weekly pivot, is probably the way to go for me. But do I trade it? Given the circumstances, is a great question.
No, well, I see. To me, that looks like it's in no man's land at this particular moment in time.
Yeah, look, it does look that way, but on my chart, it's really not in no man's land. It's close to no man's land, but it's coming down off the top of this. Well, if I go a little bit wider, you can see it better. This range here, which is the dark grey line, is created a false break. We've come down, crashed through the pivots, retested the pivots. As I said, there was your trade on Friday if you were trading. Beautiful. No follow through again. That's the frustrating part at the moment. There's very little follow through, and you would have been looking for the bottom of this range again. Maybe profit here at the trend line, of course, but I'll be looking for the same thing, exactly the same thing. Maybe off the weekly pivot, but I don't know that we'll actually get there. As we said, it's a day that may well be just going sideways. So I don't know that I'm that keen to get into the market, to be fair. If I see something on the shorter time frames that gives me resistance to support, then maybe. But I don't know about the longer term. That said, I've still got this one. That was again on the 4-hour chart. So I guess I've got that one covered if it appears. I'm not that confident, mate, to be fair.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those days that you just hope that the price doesn't get to where you want to trade, isn't it? Because
that's right.
I think we probably will get to where I would take a trade today. But my other issue is that when the market explodes to the upside, when the FTSE 100 specifically, obviously that's what I trade. But when this happens and it explodes like this to the upside, what you really need is some settling down. It's awful to kind of like have to jump on board a locomotive, and that's what it'll end up being if it comes back down here and then all of a sudden just starts to kick up to the upside without any question. It won't be the worst thing in the world, because what that does suggest is that the retracement will be swift and extreme. So if that bounces today, I probably would let it bounce without me. So actually, I'm probably talking myself out of trading today unless we get to the upside, and then I will just take the short on the price. And the reason I'll take short on the price is that even though I won't have a setup, what I will have is a market which, to my mind, will be way overextended within a 2-day period, and a bearish market at that. So there is a possibility that we trade today, but it's got to effectively travel down 20 minimum, up 100, and with such light kind of news and data and holidays going on, that is unlikely. So the best case scenario for upside is for this to settle, and we need it to settle down here for a bit. 230 is not going to make any difference to us, which actually, that destroys the day in itself, because the way that I trade the FTSE is within 4 blocks, really. I trade the open of the UK, I trade the open of the American market, I trade the close of the UK, and I trade the close of the American market, and there's a few bits and pieces obviously in between. It's not like bang on 8 I expect to get a trade, bang on 2:30, bang on 4:30, and bang on at 9 o'clock I expect to get these trades in. What I'm saying is that within an hour or an hour and a half of that, I'm looking for that particular session, and there's no second session today. So so because of that, it kind of it makes trading the FTSE much less attractive. And of course, any scalpers out there, really, any scalpers should be just trading this short, just trade it short down to the daily pivot, and then take profit, and that's your day done, really, because the market will it's got a high probability of being drawn into this area, especially when as we see this bearish price action already starting. It's starting to express the fact that the FTSE is going to be heavier than it is light today. So there are still possibilities for people to take something, but this isn't my game. My game is to see if I can actually get a longer term swing and wait for a short term setup.
Okay, one thing I was looking at also, and it crossed my path probably last week, I think. We were looking at, we got my chart? Yeah. This is the oil chart, right? WTI. And it has broken out to the high side. It's still at a resistance level, though. It's in there somewhere. But I think it's broken through the main level of resistance, which is interesting. I think a retest here today probably gets me as a bull.
Interesting.
Yeah, but short term is also interesting. If I have a look at the risk off that I was expecting today, had I been trading this morning, I would have taken this trade. I would have gone short Aussie CAD on this bar here. The moment I'd be out of the money, but it is coming to the daily pivot. So I'm still thinking that's a possibility. But when I put a trend line on the chart, I get something entirely different.
Do you know the only thing about that? The reason I don't think those highs that we have got through there are quite. Yeah, on oil, I see the next. Where those tails are.
Yep.
There's a pretty nice level of previous resistance on the 13th of
basically.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the area for reversal. Yeah, I think it's there. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not so sure. And it's interesting because, yes, last month, exactly. Interesting because the FTSE 100 did actually move, and it does. It's a great barometer for the FTSE oil, and the FTSE did actually move off the back of oil. So it's it's an interesting one, isn't it? That we have both those markets really showing something very similar. Both got an inverted head and shoulders, or they both had an inverted head and shoulders. They're both really kind of like at the higher end of their inverted head and shoulders, and looking to break out. And actually, there's also a trend line breakout on that one as well. It probably got through a little bit earlier than the FTSE in some respects, but I think that comes back and tests, and we have to be a little bit careful because that could reverse quite happily as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot to consider. As
there
always,
is a lot to consider. Yeah.
As always, there's not a one direction here. There's always an answer in the opposite.
There is. And do you know the chart I find the most interesting on the oil as well is the monthly, which leads us to around about 60.42, which still has got plenty of upside room before this one comes down. I see a trend line that starts on the 2nd of well, no, sorry, is it January the 2nd? Yeah, there's the second month. So 2016 looks like February actually.
What have I got?
The hammer right down the bottom there.
Oh, this one.
Yes.
Where have you got that going?
Up through then 2017 or around about June. Yes. Yes, and when you draw that and then a horizontal level, that's what we get. I think that's a really interesting level.
Yeah. No argument from me.
So that would be a great place to go short, because this is a bearish market, isn't it? On the monthly there, on the primary chart there.
It is, and you've got a big double top sitting here. You're just waiting for a retracement, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
And that might be the area. Yep, may well be.
Were you here when PB was talking about the keto diet and the reason that he was long on? What was he thinking about long on? It was something that he was long on because of the keto diet.
Maybe short on sugar.
Maybe short sugar. That was the one. You're absolutely right. Yes, short sugar.
Because Julian was long sugar, and Paul was arguing the point, saying, "Well, hang on a minute. Got all these people going onto the keto diet." I don't remember the exact content, but it was around that premise. Yes.
Yes, and it's a difficult one, because sometimes you see the thing that you're into brighter than the overall picture. I'm not saying that's the case, but if you buy a car, all of a sudden
you certainly do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're biased from the word go.
Yes,
and we can't help that.
No, but if he was right, and I was going to ask him this question, but we ran out of time. But my question to him would have been, do we feel the same about oil, in the way that more and more cars are going towards electric? We're even getting aeroplanes now designed for electric engines. Is this the main underlying issue here with oil, that the demand is just drying up?
Oh, is it?
I don't know, mate. I mean, it was a question, really. It wasn't a statement. It was a question that I wondered with it, because if the premise is that sugar, the demand for sugar is less so because of the keto diet.
Take your point. Yes, definitely. And the answer that you were looking for on Thursday, by the way, is around 8%.
The answer I was looking for.
This is like Jeopardy. Can you think of the question?
Oh yeah, I like this. I like this sort of competition. My memory, you'll always win this because my memory's rubbish. The question, 8%. The answer was, the question was,
goes to pretty much what we've just been talking about.
Well, we were talking about sugar.
World demand for a product, and we were talking Aussie, and we were talking
bamboo. Oh, Aussie, yes, I do remember this.
Coming back to
coal.
Coal, exactly right.
Yes.
So about 8% of GDP.
8% of GDP. Okay, that's actually higher than I thought.
Well, that's the best research I've done, and mind you, that wasn't very painstaking, but that I think it was something like 36.1 billion versus that's actually that was mining, not coal specifically. And
okay, so that could even be gold.
It could be gold, could be iron ore.
Iron ore, yeah. You know what? I thought the iron ore market would have made up a lot more of the Australian market than that.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit more on it, but that's the figure I came up with. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
A bit sleepy.
That's all right, mate.
So yeah, that's around about where we're at on the mining stakes. So I still think coal's significant, and the future demand is going to be quite interesting. Water would be good here in Tasmania at the moment. We're on fire.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a push not that long ago that was mentioning water possibly as the next big player in the commodity space, and they're going to need, the company that can purify ocean water is going to be very, very wealthy.
Yeah, I was going to say, what derivatives can we trade water in?
I guess you'd have to. Well, I mean, there's water company.
You can go short ice blocks.
Ice blocks.
Rather than making ice blocks at some stage.
Yeah, you could do that. Any other?
Or soft drinks, maybe. Oh, that could be a sugar issue.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he does have a point. I mean, I don't know whether I would put it down necessarily to the keto diet, really, but I think that there's probably a lot more at play than just that. But there's an obvious push for something, a substitute, because otherwise you wouldn't have companies like Coca-Cola coming out with things like Coke Zero. And I have to say, it irritates the hell out of me, because I was at the service station not that long ago, and we got a drink over here called Iron Brew. Have you ever heard of that?
No, we've got
Iron Brew. Oh,
we've got
lovely.
Iron Jack. We've got Iron Jack here. It's a beer.
Okay, no, this isn't a beer. This is a soft drink.
Yep.
It's lovely. It's an orange drink made in Scotland. Apparently, they say that the advert's made in Scotland from girders, which are these big metal things that they make bridges out of. So, which is not made from that, obviously.
No.
Yeah, the Iron Brew. So I went to the service station the other day and I picked up a bottle of Iron Brew. And I sat down with whatever it is I was having. I think it was noodles and chicken at the service station. I took a swig out of this Iron Brew, and the taste at the end just escaped. It was disgusting. And I looked around it. I turned the bottle around. On a small white tag, it says sugar-free. So it's exactly the same design in a normal Iron Brew bottle, but this tiny little sugar-free thing. And I was livid, because I had to go back and buy another bottle. I couldn't drink it. I had to go buy another bottle. I thought, if they hadn't had sugar-free drinks out at all, I wouldn't have had that problem. That would have never have happened. But
there you go. But they have.
They've managed to sell me double just by selling me something substandard.
Well, you need to blow up about the labelling, you see.
Yeah, well, I would have done, but the service station shop owner wouldn't have cared.
Not my problem, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
Coke have already changed the name of Coke Zero, haven't they, to Coke No Sugar or something?
They have. You're absolutely right. It might not be. Yeah, you're absolutely. Yeah, I've got some vague recollection of that somewhere.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it is.
I've got some in the fridge now. It's called No Sugar, and I asked for Coke Zero. So.
Oh, okay. Coke No Sugar. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I suppose they had to, probably.
But okay. Well, then what do you trade then? What is the substitute that they're putting in there?
Ah, now you're getting there. That's what you trade. Yes, good point. Good point. I'd love to get. Do you know what? That'd be a fascinating chart to look at, because the moment that Coke brought out this Coke Zero and they started using this this other product, I would love to see what a chart of that particular product looks like.
We'll have to do some work on Google then overnight. What is the substitute for Coke for sugar in Coke or other soft drink products?
I mean, from what I gather, it's not particularly good for you.
I'm sure it wouldn't be.
It's
because it has to be unnatural to start with.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So what's in that case? What else are they getting rid of? So we were talking about electric, and Lloyd is all over this one. I loved Lloyd's take on the world. He's actually quite similar to you. Oh, I've got a question about the slingshot in a moment. Yeah, he's similar to you, where he'll look at the world and he'll have a contrarian / left field view of it, and he'll go out and buy stocks in the left field view, and he'll make a whole bunch of money because everybody else is rushing to the obvious. Cool. And he does things like rather than buying Apple, he'll go and buy the people that make the chips for Apple. Rather than buying Tesla, he'll go out and go and buy the people that make some sort of component in the batteries that they make for Tesla. So it's kind of this is the same sort of thing, isn't it? We're not looking at Coca-Cola because they've got Coke Zero out. We're looking at who makes the zero part of the Coke Zero, which company makes that. And the question is, what's the next one? So what's the next movement that we've got going on? And how can we get underneath the hood to trade the smaller company that supplies the bigger company?
Research, mate. Research.
Because I've got a really cool website for shares and and bonds and all that sort of thing. So I reckon we could do some other little analysis on that.
All right.
Um,
What have we got?
Well, on my website.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's pretty vast. I'll show you it, but it's pretty vast. When I say it's a website, it's not something that everybody can look at, unfortunately, because I've subscribed to it.
Okay, I'll just have a quick look at the 30-minute charts as we move towards the bottom of the hour. See if there is anything I want to trade. Had I been trading at the time, I would have looked at that candle. But again, it's an uncomfortable day. Stop there. It's only 11 pips. Everything's indecisive. That's the issue with that. No. 30-minute chart on Aussie yen, sideways, nothing. Aussie Kiwi. That looks interesting, but I wouldn't be trading that long until we got down to here. So no trade there either. Aussie CAD, this was the one I was going to talk about when I looked at oil, and it looked very interesting. Tomorrow, I may look to trade that short, but today, this has looked very interesting for a long. And what I would need to see is pretty much what we're seeing now in the next hour and a half. If this was in particular to test the weekly pivot, like it seems to want to do, and then pull back off it with a decisive bearish bar, maybe that retested that level there. So retested the 95, that's entirely plausible. So if we hit the weekly pivot, maybe this closes just above the weekly pivot, current bar, then we come back and retest the 95-cent level. That would definitely be a long for me. So I'll be looking at that one. But tomorrow, this may well look like a break and retest of those pivots on the daily chart. And on the daily chart, as I said before, had I been trading this morning, I would have traded that bar for sure. And thus far, that doesn't look to be a great idea. So perhaps I'm pleased that wasn't the case. Now, dollar yen's really interesting. I think we need some more pullback here. I don't think this is enough. So I'm looking probably at weekly pivot, and you can see the level there as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm going to bring that up
there. So I think short today is probably to go on the small time frames, and I'll be looking for that. I like this bar, the rejection of the daily pivot. So I'll be looking for something on the 30-minute chart to get me in here. Kind of there, but it's kind of not. Let me see. That won't be good enough. That won't get there. That's similar to what I just looked at Aussie CAD. It's now showing me false break almost. Okay. There may even be an entry there now.
What's this on? Sorry, dollar yen?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a look.
Where do I put my stop is the issue.
Okay, cool. That monthly bar is crazy at the minute, isn't it?
It's messy. I like the area from which to trade, but I just can't see anything.
Is it quite high enough?
Is break retest of the daily pivot, but it's already happened before today, and it looks like it's going to repeat itself. And I'm trading straight into the low of the day, so no, that one's not an option. We'll let that one fly, but there may be something a little bit later. I do like the premise. Get down to here and then look for long.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that does look good. The dollar yen does look good for a bit of upside, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
It does look good, yeah. I mean, it looks like it needs to take out the pattern in the next 15 minutes, I see. It's a bit of a scruffy old chart there, but if that takes out the yeah, because we got a kind of Actions 12 high test bar on the 15 that that it looks like we're trying to break the high of, and that's also the higher end of that that pattern. There's a trend line that starts on the 18th of January, around about 8 o'clock on the charts there. Yeah, a bit higher.
Where's the 28th of January?
The actual high, the high point, but I see your one as well, actually. I think your one's better. It's 3 touches. Yeah, your one's better. I see what you mean. So it probably trades up to that line, doesn't it?
I'm guessing so. Yep.
Not a lot of room there before a potential reversal. I mean, there's almost two lines, two trend lines, and well, you got a trend line, and I guess because it's just 2 touches, I guess we'd have to class that as one of your trade lines. But if that can break out of here, touch the top, touch the upper line, come back, retest the lower line, and then possibly go, that might be a trade.
Yeah, I'm looking for something here. Daily pivots in there somewhere too. I'll be willing to do that. I might look for a false break here. So let it break, hit resistance here maybe, then come back under. The one thing I don't want to do is trade into that level, which is the low of the day. That spooks me always. So I need a bit of space between here and there. So maybe an entry here gets me in. That would be okay. So I want up here, back under, retest, look for an entry there. That'll be what I'm looking for. But again, I need to ask myself the question, am I going to trade today? That's the question I need to ask myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a sticky day, in my opinion. I'll ask you a quick question about the about the slingshot. My question is, and I'll bring this on a clean chart. Would this qualify? Actually, no, I can't do it on a clean chart. Let's do this on a. Let's do it on this because we need the pivot. I think don't need that. So this is a 4-hour chart.
What's the pair?
The FTSE, the FTSE futures. I'm not sure if you get exactly the same thing on the UK 100, but we can have a quick look. No, it doesn't look the same on the futures on the UK 100. So it's the future. So you might have to look at my screen for this.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So this here, this break below the monthly pivot on the 4-hour, and then the break back above.
Mm-hmm.
Would that cause a double cross?
Yes.
And then so you'd be trading at the high of that.
No, I'd be going short.
Oh, you'd be going short. Okay.
Yes, that wouldn't have worked.
So the fact that it closed below the monthly pivot and then got back above it, that wouldn't qualify as a double cross.
No, the double cross goes in the opposite direction to the second candle of the double cross.
I see.
But what it really needs to be is a decisive bar. Both of them need to be decisive bars. So almost what A2W call train track reversals almost.
Yes.
So that's in the ballpark, but it's not perfect. And as you can see, it didn't work. But
so is there have you ever sort of like done the statistical evidence on the fact that because it is such a contested area, one closes below, one closes above, an entry at the high and an entry at a low, because it could actually break either way at that point?
Yeah, look, done a bit of work on that years ago though, and I can't remember the actual results. I've been trying to work out a way to do that when it's associated with a trade line. So if we've got a confluence there, then absolutely, it's more pardon me, it's worthy of revisiting, because I do like the setup, but really, the major work I've done on that is with trend lines and trade lines,
Right.
not with double crosses. But it's I'm glad you brought that up actually, because if you look at just that chart that you've got there,
yeah,
if you go back, every time there's been a double cross, there's been a move.
yes, there's another one here in a way, isn't there? Right around the monthly pivot.
And go down to the next one.
Where's the this one?
Yeah, and even I know it's over 2 days, but you've got the swing that's higher than that came down and tested the weekly pivot. Yeah, two candles back.
These two here.
No, down to the weekly pivot.
Oh
there.
yeah.
And then go directly across the weekly pivot. Further. There.
This one here.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. Interestingly, though, all these worked out in the direction of the second candle.
That's right. Yes. Rather than the way I trade it.
Yeah.
Although, if you have a look at the next one, which goes, not that one, come right across to the swing low, come down there. That worked out the way I trade it.
Yes.
Didn't go far, but it worked out.
Yes.
And then there's a tiny little one coming off the high, the absolute high. Come down to the test of the weekly pivot. Then there's a retest. Yep.
Yes.
That's the way I trade it.
That's really interesting. Yes, and the interesting thing about it is that it creates volatility. So it looks like that it's actually a really good place to look for signs and signals that you can get into the market on a short-term time frame, probably.
Absolutely.
Quite like that. I'll just quickly show you what interests me with the yen, the dollar yen, because it's done what I was looking at it doing.
I'll come to that line, yeah.
Yeah, it's come to the line and it's looking like it's retesting. If I can grab it, here we go. Now this is the 15. So that's the breakout point. And it did actually reject the first one. So it's rejected the first one. So, if it can hold above this one, this to me looks like a decent point to try and take that long. There's caveats all day today, aren't there, because of the lack of potential movement and volatility in the market. But that looks all right for a little short-term trend at some point. I will quickly check the YouTube channel just to see if we got anybody looking at any particular trades we can have a quick analysis of. And then we need to talk about the Super Bowl.
When's that?
Oh, well, Super Bowl's now 2 weeks, two Sundays away, but the final divisional championships were last night, and it was amazing. It's brilliant.
Are the Rams in?
The Rams are in it. Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, the Rams are in.
The Rams 985 shirt out.
The Rams are in, but they are playing the Patriots, and I thought they'd be playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was an amazing game. There's no questions. It was an amazing game, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Pats, because the Pats came out. They were at Arrowhead Stadium, which is the Kansas City Chiefs stadium, and the noise was deafening. You could hear it booming out the TV. So, how the Patriots managed to design plays while they're actually in the huddle, I don't know. But they said that they'd done a lot of work on designing plays before they even got there, so they wouldn't have to pretty much talk about it when they were actually in the huddle. But it's the game management that they're so good at. Tom Brady is just a genius. Nothing he does, he's not the best. He hasn't got the best arm in the world. He doesn't scramble the best. He's not the best quarterback who scrambles. But what he's the absolute best at is reading what the defense are doing and figuring out what's the easiest play to beat the defense off the with the offense that he has. And he just schooled them. His experience. This guy's 42, 42-year-old quarterback. Playing in such an intense physical game is something else. But he's just so good at reading the opposition. And
he's already won something like 3 Super Bowls, hasn't he?
Oh, they've been in 7. They've been in
Yeah, but
7
he's-
in the last 10 years. I think he's on about 4 or 5.
Oh wow!
He is the most successful quarterback of all time. He's just something else. And to watch this stuff, they're not they're not the most exciting team to watch. That's the interesting thing. But so a lot of people don't really like them for that fact. But when you start to understand the game, that's when you start to understand and realize his brilliance. It's I'm sure there are other people in the world of sport that you could compare it to. It's not the exciting ones; it's the ones that just know how to deliver.
Get across the line, yeah.
Yeah, just all they care about is winning. They don't care about big plays. Don't care about how many touchdowns that he throws or anything like that. It's all about the winning, and it's all about how he can read the opposition and come up with a scheme. During the scrimmage as well. The scrimmage comes down. They get in the line of scrimmage, and most of them have to wait for their head coach to call the play, and then they have to go through with it. But he can go, right, that's not going to work. Let's change it. Let's change it right now, and he can just change it as they go. He sees a hole, and his design is just amazing. And I guess that's what it comes down to in the end. It's not the people that can hit the ball out the park. It's the ones that can consistently hit that ball.
To first base, yeah.
Yeah, and they headed again. It went to overtime. It was they came out of the blocks fast to try and shut the crowd up. They got an early touchdown, scored another one in the second quarter. Then the Chiefs came back a little bit. It got right up until the last 10 seconds, and the Chiefs managed to get a field goal, which took it to overtime. And then the quarterback Tom Brady managed to get a touchdown. But
Okay,
actually,
so I've got to find about 5 hours on Monday week.
yes,
Yesterday.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would, mate. I don't know. It probably won't be well. In fact, your team's in it now, so you definitely want to watch it.
Yeah.
But if it was the Rams versus the Chiefs, it would have been a great Super Bowl because both of them are highly attacking. They're all about explosive plays, and you'd have had 2 quarterbacks both at 23. And when you consider that Goff for the Rams quarterback is 23 and Brady is 42. He's old enough to be his dad. That is just
exactly.
It's astonishing. That I always think of sport or at least certain sports as a young man's game, but he's kind of bucking that trend with the most important position on the park as well.
Well, you can look forward to some tributes during the game to him. That's for sure.
Yeah, when he retires, there's going to be lots of programs made.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So all right, back to trading. I think.
Yes.
Can we back that? Well, again, any broker you tend to, well, not broker, bookmaker you find will all be betting on the Super Bowl, no doubt.
Oh yes, yeah. But we need to be contrarian about this. So we don't want to back the winner. We want to back something like how many times does Goff get intercepted? Something like that.
Yeah, or will the referee fall over at some stage or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Something obvious.
Yeah.
I always love that sort of thing.
Yes.
But the one thing I have learned, 2 things, many things I've learned over the period of my life, and one of them is do not bet on football.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Well, it's so manipulated. It's so contrived by the same as boxing. It's run by criminals.
Yeah.
So if you're betting on rugby league here, for instance, there was I think it was actually a grand final about 5, maybe 10 years ago. I can't remember now. And you can bet on who scores the first points, right?
Hmm.
So this guy on the opposition team has backed the kicker of his opposition team to get the first points.
Oh, no
So,
way.
so what's he do? First time in front of the goalposts, he hits someone or does something stupid, to get penalised. So this guy gets the kick. Over she goes. Thank you very much. I collect the money.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that simple.
He obviously got found out and fined and banned, obviously.
Yeah, all of that. But
Yeah.
that
too late.
doesn't stop the poor punters who've done their money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's corrupt, and that's the shame of it all. Pro sports is a very, very. I used to be involved in sport on a television level, and I loved it. I just lived it, breathed it every single day of my life. And as soon as the gambling got into it, that was the end of it. All over Red Rover.
Right.
And I hardly watch it anymore for that reason.
Really? Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know it's not real. It's not true.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
it's another story. What are we doing?
well, there's nothing specific except I would quite like to trade. I'd love to trade a pound cross at some point, and
yeah, pound yen long for me today would have been the one to go.
oh god, the pound is just absolutely rocketed against the yen, isn't it? It's been amazing.
Yep. But there's a double cross on the monthly pivot as well.
Right.
I don't know if that's a deep enough retracement, to be fair. The weekly pivot standing out, and we've still got this situation, so it is tough. Where do you enter is the issue.
Yeah, the weekly pivot looks the most obvious point, doesn't it? But things with a pound suggest that we might get just a bit more. I mean, I've got a whose screen are we on? We're on mine. I see this with pound yen. But a pound cross. I quite like I quite like the pound euro pound as a potential trade. I'd really like to trade that.
Still short. Yep.
Yes, yeah. I think long pound from here would be a good idea. This is what I see. I mean, I know we've got pivots a little bit further up, but if that came down and tested the trend line, and it was in line with this particular area here, so somewhere around about the 139.60 area, I think that'd be really good. I think that'd be a really good point to try and trade it. I'm not sure what this upper line is suggesting. It probably doesn't quite give us anything there. Yeah, that to me would look better. Maybe a little higher, but somewhere along here, I think this gets held up and is a good would be a good trade. Euro
kind of goes along with my first series today, which was risk off today, which would suggest pound yen will come down while the yen strengthens today.
Yeah.
And then risk back on tomorrow. That was my thought process going into the week. But if this May thing is not going to resolve itself in any way, shape, or form today, then we may be in risk off for the week. I don't know.
Oh, it's tricky now, mate, because I don't has the ATW accounts now. Are we allowed to trade the euro crosses yet?
No, but that was predicated on what I was saying today, that Theresa May would have to come back to Parliament with Plan B.
I see. Yeah, so, Plan B's not doesn't exist. She'll say something, but it won't get any support. It'd be very, very unlikely. I do need to get back on top of that. I'm not quite as on top of it this week as I was last week. So, and it's only because there's not so much news to kind of sift through. So I was kind of all over it last week, but I'll get back on top of that. But I think for me, the likelihood that we edge towards some sort of no deal scenario or some sort of second referendum scenario becomes fairly likely.
Edge toward is not what we want to hear. We want to hear decision. Let's go.
Yes, we certainly do. We certainly do. I just look at this and see this. There are pivots here, but I just look at this. There's a weekly pivot exactly where we are actually. So there might be a short-term bit of downside, but I look at this and this, trying to get back up to this point and creating that left shoulder head and maybe some sort of right shoulder somewhere in this area for us to maybe try and take a trade. But I do like the pound. I think the pound is cheap, and it's just the fact that we haven't got a Brexit deal that that stops I think anybody taking any pound long right now. But the pound was incredibly strong at this particular point. It was incredibly strong here as well, and I just see this as just some sort of relief reaction rather than being based on really any confidence that that the euro is going to strengthen up against the pound again. Because also, the European data isn't particularly good, and it's only really going to be it's not good for either the pound or the euro. This deal. So even with even if we end up at no deal, I'm not 100% certain that the euro would strengthen too much against the pound from here.
If I look at the euro chart, the bigger picture.
Yeah,
I'm still bullish. I can't change that at this. The elephant in the room, obviously, is the problem. But I've still got higher highs and lows, apart from I guess last week, which was all down. But there's still no lower low based on the previous daily chart. So, I'm still bullish across, and I'm not sure when that changes. And I know it's crazy to say because, fundamentally, I'm talking gobbledygook, I suppose, but technically I'm still long.
Right. That is the issue with the euro. The fundamentals don't now suggest that we're going to get that interest rate rise that Draghi so wants, but maybe that'd be enough. Maybe the fact that he wants it bad enough means that it will go up, but then almost instantly come back down again.
Well, that's I guess what I should have added. I'm only long. Well, I won't say short term. I'll say medium term. But I'm seeing 117. I'm really seeing 117. So I think then there might be an issue. Technically, because we're back to the top of a range. We've got bearish signals all over the place at that level. So, yeah, it's hard to trade. And that's my point. It's very difficult to go long the euro at the moment. Very, very difficult. But that doesn't preclude me from doing it if I see the right signal. It's just tough to call. Actually, let me have a look at this. I'm seeing. Yeah, it's kind of there. Wow. I'll show you my chart.
Yep. Got your chart.
Okay. I'm still on your chart, recording. Oh, no, there we go. Happy days. All right, so the bigger picture, this is the weekly chart, right? Where we were looking at this head and shoulders, which just didn't really pan out. Shoulder, head, shoulder, or shoulder. Then we got a second shoulder, although we had two shoulders over here as well. So, but this remains intact if I put this channel in.
Yes.
So that's still there. We've come off the bottom. We've gone into this consolidation because of Brexit. and yet we're still getting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Don't know if there's going to be a higher low yet, but that's why I'm still. It's hard to say I'm bullish, but I'm on their side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I've got a slight favour for the longs before the shorts, if the shorts come. The shorts will come up here somewhere, I reckon, if they're going to come, or if there's a bad Brexit situation. And that is the issue. How do you trade this at normal risk when they've got all of these added extra risks that you're trading with? But still saying this gradual, it's very gradual, mind you. But yeah, I'm still there. If I see a reason to go long, I will. And the reason probably comes as a false break of this level here at the moment, because that would still give me a higher low in this area. And I think that's probably the area I look to go long. We shall see. We shall see. There's still plenty of room for the downside before that cycle, if you like, is broken of higher highs and higher lows. So yeah, I'm still okay with it. But
okay, mate.
The elephant in the room could just put out its foot and go. And
yeah.
We're back down to 105 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess there's not really anything else we can do today. I don't think, anyway. Markets aren't, they're quiet today anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's to be expected. It's Monday. We don't know what's going to happen in Parliament, British Parliament. There's a US bank holiday. Yeah, it pretty much says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we will. So we will leave it for now, and come back again tomorrow. I will be in with you in the morning, and then I'll be off to get a plane. I won't be in Wednesday, but I'll be back with you on Thursday.
All right, mate. Perfect. We will catch you tomorrow, and I think I'll take the night off.
Great stuff. Me too. All right. Well, have a great afternoon for the rest of you as well. Back again tomorrow. Same trade time, same trade channel.
Perfect. See you guys.